What if I told you there was a school where there are no grades, no exams, no degrees, no ranking, and yet thousands of people willingly pay to attend, not because they have to, but because they want to. Now, if you're like most people, your first question might be,
what's the point?
Because for many of us, school isn't just where we learn, it's where we're measured. We measure intelligence, performance, potential, success. School often feels like a giant machine designed to answer one question. How good are you? But what if school wasn't designed to answer that question at all? What if it was designed to ask different questions? Questions like, who are you? What do you care about? And who might you become?
In Denmark, there exists a type of school called a højskole, or a folk high school. And no, despite the name, it's not really a high school. It's not a college either. In fact, it's surprisingly difficult to explain. Which is fitting, because many former students say you don't really understand it until you've experienced it. One example is the International People's College, or IPC, in the Danish city of Helsingør. Students from around the world come to live together for months. Not to earn credentials, but to learn. And those are not always the same thing.
So imagine explaining modern education to an alien. So you gather hundreds of young humans. You place them in rooms. You give them information. But then periodically you interrupt them and you say, quick, prove you remember it. The results will be converted into numbers. The numbers will become opportunities. And the opportunities will become futures. Now, it's a strange system, not necessarily bad, but it's strange. Because learning and testing are not the same thing. In fact, sometimes they're competitors. Have you ever learned something just because it fascinated you? Not because it would be on a test, not because it would improve your resume, just because you wanted to know. That feeling is what folk high schools were built around.
The folk high school movement emerged in Denmark in the 19th century. The idea was radical. A democracy requires informed citizens, not merely trained workers, not merely obedient subjects, citizens, people capable of thinking, people capable of dialogue. Education wasn't viewed as preparation for life. It was life. Today, there are dozens of folk high schools across Denmark, each with different focuses and communities. But they share a common idea. Learning can be valuable even when it isn't measured.
Now let's perform a thought experiment. Imagine two students, both attending classes, both read books, both have discussions, both learn. But one receives grades, the other doesn't. Which one learns more? You can't answer because learning is invisible. We often use grades because the knowledge is difficult to see directly. Grades are proxies, useful proxies, but proxies nonetheless. It's like judging the quality of a friendship by counting text messages. The number tells you something, but not everything. And sometimes not the most important thing.
At IPC, something unusual happens. People from dozens of countries live together, not next to each other, together. They share meals, conversations, projects, disagreements, friendships. The classroom doesn't end when class ends, because campus itself is a part of the curriculum. Students aren't only learning about the world, they're learning with the world. A discussion about culture isn't theoretical when your roommate grew up on the other side of the planet. A lesson about communication becomes very real when nobody in the room shares exactly the same assumptions as you. Knowledge becomes social.
But wait, if there are no grades, why do students work? Shouldn't everyone relax? Maybe. Yet many don't, and that's what's fascinating, because it reveals something about human motivation. Psychologists often distinguish between extrinsic motivation and intrinsic motivation. One comes from rewards, the other comes from desire itself. Children don't need grades to learn how to speak. They don't need exams to become curious. Curiosity appears naturally. The mystery isn't why people learn. The mystery is why they sometimes stop. Perhaps the deeper question is not, how do we make people learn? Perhaps it's how do we avoid making them stop wanting to?
A school without grades sounds unconventional, but maybe the truly strange thing is the opposite. Maybe what's strange is that we have become so accustomed to measuring learning that we sometimes forget why learning exists. After all, what is the purpose of education? To produce workers, citizens, experts, better people?
Actually, the answer depends on who you ask.
And that's why schools are never just about schools. They're about what a society believes humans are for.
At the International People's College, students often arrive from different countries, carrying different languages, histories, and ambitions and expectations. Months later, they leave with something much harder to measure: perspective.
And perhaps that's the problem. The most important outcomes of education are often the least measurable. A test can tell you what someone remembers. It cannot easily tell you who they have become.